Hi, it's Marilyn Devonish here from transformationstm.com, and just a quick one to answer a few of the questions about the introduction to Hawaiian Huna. So in a nutshell, I'm going to tell you, number one, why I'm running it and how that came to be and came about. Also a little bit of an overview about what we're going to be doing for that weekend. I'll also share with you just a few of the reasons why this is one of my favourite modalities, and I'm trained in probably, over 20 different modalities now, and Huna is definitely right up there for me. So I'll share with you some of the experiences that both myself and my clients have had, and then also kind of what your potential next steps would be. So one of the questions is, what is Huna? And I think the way I used to describe Huna when I first came across it, I said that for me personally, Huna was like Reiki on steroids. And the way I sometimes describe Huna, I say to people, do you know what Reiki is? And it's not because they originate in completely different places, of course. Reiki, Huna, I learnt it out in Hawaii. But the reason I say that is it's working with energy, it's working with symbols. And if you've done Reiki, you will know about the Reiki symbols. Working with the energy. That for me is where the similarity ends. I would say Reiki is really quite gentle and it's lovely, and it's one of the first things that I experienced as a client probably 23, 24 years ago when I was stressed out of my head. And I would say that Huna almost packs more of an energetic punch. And the reason I say that is I remember one of my very first clients, they pretty much felt the Huna and they had almost a physical pushback. So it's a different kind of energy, but they work in similar ways in terms of that. So one of the things for me that convinces for me was when I did my practitioner training back in October 2000, the person running the training was looking for a volunteer. And I volunteered not because I was interested in Huna, because I didn't really know what it was. I volunteered to be facetious because I thought there's no way that he would be able to solve this problem that I had for consciously had at that point, I'd say 28, 29 years, but had it since I was born. And that he'd be able to solve it using this thing called Huna. And lo and behold, the problem was resolved and he didn't even do anything. What I now know, of course, is there is a silent version of Huna, which could be transmitted while I'm talking to you, having this conversation. And that's basically what he had done. But that was enough to blow me away. And I think the reason why I was so impressed, it wasn't just a change in my energy field, in my beliefs. The change also affected another person who was not on the training, had nothing to do with the training. My trainer didn't even know who they were, yet their whole attitude to me and the dynamic of our relationship changed within the space of a few hours of this guy doing something magical and invisible while teaching a class. And I was like, whoa, okay, I've got to find out more about this because that goes beyond mere random chance. So that was my first encounter with it. I think for me, one of the things that, and I guess in a way, even though it took many years for me to start running the Huna and Access Consciousness teleseminars and webinars, I think one of the forerunners to that was having a friend who phoned me up. This was probably 2005. So many years before, probably a good 10 or so years before I started running the webinars. But it gave me a taste of the power of remote Huna. And one of the things that happened, somebody phoned, they were suicide. They were actually ringing to say goodbye because they said they were going to be taking their own life that night. And I said, look, I'm right in the middle of writing a proposal because that was in the days I was working as a management consultant and I'm working in central and local government. So to pitch for that work, you have to write tenders. And I was right in the middle of a tender. And these are like 300-400 page documents. So I says, look, can you hold off doing it, for tonight? I'm writing a tender, and are you okay for me to send you some Huna tonight? And they're like, okay. So I'm writing this proposal, I go to bed, I completely forget all about it, and then suddenly at 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up like bolt upright, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't do the Huna. So I'm sat in bed in the dark, I'm thinking of this person, I'm sort of going, and I do a round of Huna, send some very specific symbols for breaking up the energy, symbols for feeling more peaceful, symbols for feeling more calm. I go back to sleep. Next morning I come down, there's an email from this person. I'm like, oh good, they're still alive. And they said, look, sorry about last night, I'd had too much to drink, da 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 da. And I said, no worries. They said, but something really weird happened. And she said, this is, obviously I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about it, and I'm wearing a leather jacket, so I know it's not about being cold. And she said something really weird happened last night. She said suddenly at about 3, because she had not been sleeping, had not been eating for several weeks. And she said something really weird happened at 3 o'clock this morning. She said, I felt really peaceful, I felt really calm, and I had the best night's sleep I've had in weeks. And she said, this is probably the part where you tell me I'm crazy. And I'm like, oh my God, you are not going to believe this. And then I recount the whole story of waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, going, oh my God, I haven't done the Huna. And so for me, that was a real kind of physical representation of that you can do Huna. I knew you could do Huna remotely. I knew you could do remote energy work, but it was a reminder and almost a tangible experience of doing it. So that kind of kicked off a whole different side of my work, because up until then I would say to people, oh no, we have to do a session in person. I'm suddenly like, no, we don't. And I've had clients in Australia who will feel the Huna energy when I do it, and we could be on Skype and we don't even have the camera on. So, you know, so there's that. So in terms of what we're going to be doing at the Huna intro, it's going to be sharing with you some of the background of Huna, talking to you about some of the symbols. One of my favorites is Ho'oponopono, the forgiveness process. So talking about the kind of the premise behind that. And also one of the things that people particularly enjoyed last time around was the experiential session. And so remote Huna is fantastic. People also like to sometimes, you know, you all know if you've done the photo reading workshop, for example, we do Huna as a bonus session on the Friday night to help with changing the beliefs around photo reading. So we'll do an element of that. And it's going to be a mixture of those two things. And one of the reasons why I haven't run the intro, it's probably been a good 2.5 years since I've run the intro. But one of the reasons I first ran it is I've been having people ask me for over 10 years, do you teach Huna? Can you teach Huna? Will you teach Huna? And I'm like, I don't teach it. I'm a practitioner. I don't teach Huna. And, you know, 10 years of people asking the same question, I finally went back to, you know, went back to the people that I trained with in Hawaii. I says, look, are you guys all right for me to run a Huna intro? Because people are always asking me, and not everyone is in a position to jump on a plane and go out to Hawaii for 14 days, which is the length of the training. However, they would like an experience of it, and some things to get started with. So they agreed and says, yes, that's okay. We ran through what the syllabus would be. And so I first ran it probably 2.5, 3 years ago, had an amazing time. I just haven't had time to even think about running it again. And that's why, you know, when I do the, I ran them for about 1.5 years, the monthly Angel Tarot teleseminars, I will always include Huna in that. When I run the Access Consciousness teleseminars, I always include some Huna in that as well. So people have had an experience of it, but in terms of teaching it, this is the first time in a couple of years that I'm going to be doing that. And in turn, people are asking kind of what kind of things can you use it for? It has shown up in the most unusual of ways. It seems to be particularly good with pain management. I had somebody, when I ran I think it was the Magic and Gratitude workshop, it was either that or the Money Breakthrough. It wasn't a workshop to do with pain management. It was not a healing workshop per se, although you will know when you do work with me, there's normally that transformation on the agenda. But I had somebody, and she was sitting in the corner of the room, second row, and I just, you know, we're talking about old beliefs, and I said, well, I'll do everyone a quick round of Huna. What would you like? Do you want to break things up? Do you want to calm things down? Do you want to open up your third eye, your crown chakra, da 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 da? So just talking about what they want to do, and pretty much did, I don't know, a minute or two. That was it. So we have a break after that. She goes out to the bathroom. She walks back into the room, and she went, oh my God. And I went, what? She went, oh my God. I'm like, what? She went, I've just walked without pain. And she said, I went out to the bathroom and I've just come back and I've realised walking out there and coming back, I'm not in pain. I was like, okay. She went, no, you don't understand. She says, I've been in constant pain for years. And I've done every kind of treatment you can think of, and I'm in constant pain. So just that simple walk to the bathroom and back would have been painful for her. And she says, I've just realised since you've done the Huna, I'm not in pain. I'm like, cool. Now at that point, I wasn't surprised, because if you've attended, let's say, the Mind, Body, Spirit Energy Fest workshop that I run every December, the first weekend in December, it sometimes comes up in conversation, not always, but I know Gina's mentioned it. I think she mentioned it last year. I was at home, my phone rang. I answered the phone and I actually thought it was a prank call, because all I could hear was I was like, hello? Hello? And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then, you know, through the sobs, I realised it's Gina. And she had just been to the dental hospital in Birmingham. She's got very sensitive gums, apparently. She'd had some root canal work done, and the clamp that they put on just kept slipping, so it had lacerated her gums. And she's like, I'm trying to drive home. She says, I am in so much pain. And I said, okay, just so I like a barometer, I said, scale of 1 to 10, what's the pain level? She's like, 100. And I'm like, okay, I get it, you're in pain. So I start doing the Huna, I start doing a bit of access to release the energy. About 5 minutes in, I said, where are we at now? She says, probably a 6 out of 10 in terms of pain. I was like, cool. So we had a little chat, because, like, you know, if you're a therapist, you know about having a break state. Then I did another round of Huna. Within 10 or so minutes, she's like, I'm good. She said, the pain is down to a 2 or a 3. I'm fine to drive home. Hang up the phone. She drives back from Birmingham back to Market Harborough. It can be that crazy. So, you know, and that quick. I've also had, and I think it takes people by surprise. I remember a couple of years ago, I had somebody on the photo reading training. She'd flown in from Eastern Europe, didn't interact with anyone on the Friday, kept herself to herself. Very quiet, very insular. And came in on the Saturday morning, because we do the Huna on the Friday night, came in absolutely beaming. I mean, like, massive smile on her face. And she says, I said good morning to someone this morning. It was a window cleaner. I was like, okay, cool. Didn't mean much to me, because I'm often saying good morning to people. She says, you don't understand. She says, I never talk to anyone. She says, you may have realised yesterday I was very quiet in the room. I like to keep myself to myself. And she said, I felt so light and so open this morning. I couldn't believe it. Then she comes in on the Sunday morning with an even bigger smile on her face. And she said, I came out of the station and somebody asked me for directions. And she says, I gave them directions, we had a chat, and she's like a completely different person. So she's delighted. This is all from 5 minutes of Huna, because I do some group Huna, and then I go round and do individual, depending on what people want to work on. I then get an email from her a couple of days later. She says, oh, Marilyn, she says, I was singing and clapping and dancing all the way home on the aeroplane. I'm like, huh? And again, she hates flying because there are too many people. She says, I happen to be sat near a child who was feeling a bit antsy. And so we're doing all the little games and all the rest. She says, I couldn't believe it. But then the big thing for her was her parents came to pick her up from the airport. She was dreading that part of the journey because they had nothing to talk about. She said, it's just awful. She says, Marilyn, we talked all the way home. It was wonderful. And yes, photo reading's amazing, but I know it wasn't the photo reading, it was the Huna. And so I've had people have that kind of shift. I had a lovely mum who came last March and went home on the Friday night, and she says, Marilyn, my relationship with my girls, she's got 4 daughters, was so different. She says, normally when I've left them alone for a couple of hours, and they're at home with their dad, but she says, when I've not been around to supervise, I get home, I'm stressed. Have you done this? Have you done that? Da, 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 da. Tell me about this and tell me about that. And it's like an interrogation. She said, I got home, I was so calm, I was so relaxed. We had a wonderful conversation. So I'm sharing this story when I ran a second workshop in the April, because the March one was sold out, so I put another one on, and she'd sent her daughters. So all 4 of her daughters are sat in the front row. I didn't say who she was, I just said I had someone, and they burst out laughing, and they all sat there nodding. They went, it was our mum. And they're like, she was so different. And then I ran into her a couple of months ago at the Yes group, and a couple of her daughters were there, and she came up again and she says the girls have not been the same since they did the photo reading. And a big part of that would have been the stuff that we did with the Huna, that we did with the Access Consciousness. She said they're so different. They are so outgoing, they are so confident, And so this stuff is really, as I said, it's right up there with one of my favourite modalities. And the reason I you know, it was an experiment pairing, as most of my things are, pairing it with the Access Consciousness was just a powerhouse move, because both of them together are something transformational. So what we're going to be doing on the workshop, we're going to go into, you know, kind of what is Huna, you know, looking at some of the symbols, looking at Ho'oponopono and the forgiveness process. One of my favourites is higher self therapy. We're going to look at the waking meditation, because that is so useful for being able to create a sense of calm in your daily life. Of course, we'll look at the heart breathing. That's a real lifesaver for people. But we're also going to do an introduction to Access Consciousness as well. And one of the things I love about Access is the practicality of it, where you can take these tools and implement them straight off the bat, right there and then in the moment. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing, and it is going to be a mix of giving you a bit of background and information on this, and then providing you, and I think, you know, from last time I was just having a flick through some of the feedback forms from one of the very first, I wish I put a date on this actually, the very first time I'd run it, and just asking people what has been the biggest impact, you know, learning about the techniques and how to utilize them. The most beneficial part, the clearing sessions were good, and I felt I had more energy afterwards. You know, looking forward to practicing the technique. So for, let's see, the group clearing, the energy clearing, the small intimate group, the connective factor, shifting stuff, clearing things together. Oh, it was a great feeling saying yes together. They're talking about the Access Consciousness there. Again, favourites, beneficial, individual clearing, the group clearing. Somebody says, is there anything they'll do differently? Most people leave that one blank or say can't think of anything, nothing. Oh, the room was a bit chilly at times. But somebody has said even more clearing processes and even more individual Huna, as well as the Access Consciousness. Yeah, so, you know, the access and the Huna and the practicality of it is kind of what people really like. So there's going to be definitely an element of that as we go through. Now, in terms of the question about the dates, the reason there are no dates on the Eventbrite page yet, because the pre-launch price is up until tonight. What I'm then going to do with the people who have booked or paid a deposit, I'm going to go back to them next week and we're going to agree on the date. So it means that, because one of the things about running workshops is you choose a date, no matter what date you choose, somebody will say, oh my God, I really wanted to come, I can't make it. So my tactic the last couple of months has been, look, if you want to come, I'm going to do a really special pre-launch price, or you can secure that price, pay a deposit. And then what I'm going to do with the first movers is I'm going to come back to you all. I'm going to say, look, these are some of the dates I'm free. Let me know when you're free. I'm going to choose a date that everybody can do. And then once I'm doing the same with the photo reading as well at the moment. And then once we've chosen a date, that date will then go up on the Eventbrite page. So that's why when you go to the page, you're not seeing a date for the workshop, because it hasn't been agreed yet. It's going to be agreed with the people that want to attend, which means you don't have to kind of go, oh, I hope I'm free. So that is that. What else was there? Yeah, the deposit, if you want to come, the way I do it with the photo, it's exactly the same as I do with the photo reading. There is always a series of early booking prices, and if you pay a deposit, it means whenever you book, whatever early booking price is on at that time, that's the price that you will get. And your deposit just puts that in place and it freezes it. And, you know, if it's something like the photo reading, you just got to pay 3 or 4 weeks before attending. Similarly, with the pre-launch price, there's the option just to book it. At the moment, it's £97 for the weekend workshop. The deposit, I think I've set it for 20. So whatever option you choose, even if you pay the 20 deposit, that'll be the pre-launch price. And then we'll decide on the date. And then once we've decided on the date, I will then say, right, let's say we're going to run it at the end of May. You need to have paid a couple of weeks beforehand. That's the way it kind of works. So deposit or pre-launch price. After tonight, once that pre-launch price is over, I'll then put up the price for the workshop, and it'll probably be an early booking price. It will be very different to the pre-launch price. So that was that. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? What is it? How can you use it? Pricing, why no dates? I think that was it. Let me just, I'm losing my device, so I'm loath to touch it because it's sometimes a little bit temperamental. But if there are any questions or queries, Vicky, hi Vicky. Vicky says Ho'oponopono is first class. I took it with Dr. Hugh Len in my spiritual journey. Absolutely, I'm telling you. Ho'oponopono. I have one of the, where did I put it? I think I did a little, yeah, it was on the little Huna video that I did. I had somebody came to do a breakthrough session, just a 1 hour session. She walks in, she said, I hate my life, I hate my job, I hate my boss. And I was like, okay, so not much to work on then. And it turns out her boss picks on her, and she found out she'd been there for several years, and she found out that even the new, basically undergrads, were earning more money than she was. Wasn't happy about this at all. So I said, okay, let's do some Ho'oponopono just to cut the old energetic ties and connections and release the resentment, the anger, blah, 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 bblah, blah. We do that. 3 or 4 days later, I get a phone call. She says, hi, it's so-and-so. And I didn't immediately recognise the name because we only did that 1 hour and I'd never seen her before. And I went, and I had a moment. She went, we did, and I went, oh yeah, hi, how are you? Because I wasn't expecting her to call either. And she says, you're not going to believe, my clients say that a lot, you're not going to believe this. She says, you're not going to believe this. She says, I get into work, my boss called me into the office. And I was like, oh God, what now? And he says, oh, we've reviewed your files and we've realised you're being underpaid, so we're giving you a pay rise effective this month. It was not appraisal time. It came completely left field. And she's like, oh, okay. And then this is the thing that stunned her even more than the pay rise out of the blue, was they had a really wonderful chat about, you know, how was your weekend? What did you do? She says, we chatted like normal human beings. And again, it's lovely, but I wasn't surprised. That happens a lot. For those of you, a couple of years ago, when somebody was running an NLP training, I went and did a Huna intro for them, and he was sharing the story where he had a problem for, oh God, I think it had been going on 6 months, with a neighbour who had parked a rusty car partly on his driveway, which meant when he had clients and visitors, they couldn't park in front of his house. So they had to sort of park a little bit in front of the neighbour. The neighbour would then come out and start arguing, and there'll be altercations. And my client was saying, I cannot take anymore. We had another altercation this morning. Got really heated, I don't know what to do. And I said, okay, so, and I think that was the one where he was driving, so he pulls over, we do some remote Ho'oponopono and, you know, cutting the ties, cutting the energy, da 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 da. And he says the next morning his wife opens the door, she calls him out, she says, come here. He comes and stands behind her, the car is gone. And she says, is Marilyn a white witch? What the hell happened? Seriously, the car had been sat there constantly for 6 months. Day after we did Huna, gone. He then also said, I love living here. It would be amazing if it wasn't for this guy. It'd be wonderful if he would move. Where then, I think that was the time I was doing the Millionaire Mentor workshops. We're up in Peterborough. He's there, sat on the sofa. And he says, oh, I didn't tell you, did I? I said, let me guess, your neighbours put their house up for sale. It's like, yes, exactly. So, you know, and I don't know the neighbour, I don't know this woman's boss, I've never met them in my entire life. I know when I was, because for the first 9 years I was in practice, I was doing relationship breakthrough coaching, and I've lost count of the number of times we would do the Ho'oponopono to clear and cut old ties and connections. A person would put their phone on, and there would be a message from that person, and sometimes they had not spoken for years. And the thing that was really weird about it for people, the person was getting in touch to say, hey, look, I know we broke up on bad terms, or, you know, sometimes it's relationships, it's been business partnerships as well. And the person, I remember one guy, you know, he'd been abroad, left on very bad terms, had not spoken to this particular partner for a couple of years. He drove away. The phone rang probably 7 or 8 minutes after he had left, because that was in the days where I do breakthrough sessions in person. Nowadays it's pretty much Skype and telephone. And as soon as I saw his number, I started feeling down the side of the sofa, like, have they left their keys, their phone, whatever. I said, you're not going to believe this. I won't go on then. He says the business partner that was the last person on stage, because the full-on Ho'oponopono is about the stage rather than just words. And he says the last person who was on the stage, he's just rung me. He rang me. He left a voicemail. Obviously, he was with me at the time, so he didn't take the call. His phone was off. And he said, the person says, hi, look, I'm back in the UK for a bit. I feel really bad about the way things ended between us with the business. I'd love to meet up for a beer. Okay, I've got goosebumps again. Seriously, it's just the coolest thing. And you know, what are the chances of that? It goes beyond mere random chance. That's the thing that I have to go, you know what, I've got to shake my head and go, there is something going on. So Vicky, I absolutely hear you. It's beyond first class. It is freaking awesome. And so we'll be doing when the people in the with the testimonials are talking about the group processes, we're going to do Ho'oponopono is just amazing. So we're going to do a group process for that, for kind of cutting old links and ties and connections, as well as doing, you know, some individual Huna and the symbols and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's amazing stuff. It really, really is. Let me just see. Have I missed anything else? Oh, Nathan says, I can attest to your Huna prayers, Marilyn. Yeah, Nathan, I know. It's crazy cool, uncanny stuff. I mean, it's just incredible. Anik said, I'd love to join. However, I don't know the date of my massage exam yet. No problem. But yeah. Let's see. Somebody says, I've been wanting to learn Huna. Cool. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not in very good scroll. Oh, actually, do you know what? Let me just see if it's any better. I'm going to go to my own page and just see if I can see it there. Because I can't do Facebook Live on my PC at the moment. I'm having to go back to a very old device where the camera on it isn't brilliant. So I apologise also if this is a little bit blurry. But I'll just see if maybe I can see it better on my own page than looking on here. Make sure the volume's down so I don't start talking. Let me just see if I can see comments. That might be another way to do it, actually. Oh, I can't see them all. That's so weird. Facebook Live, I love you and you're a little bit weird. So I can't see all the comments that I can see on here. So if there's anything else and I haven't addressed it, I will come back and do it in written form for you. Let's just do that. Nathan says, tell them about how the Huna works for the soccer game results. You know, I mean, that seriously, on the first couple of times it happened, I was just playing around. The one that sticks in my mind, which was documented on Facebook, I was up in bed watching the World Cup. It had been nobody had scored. Here's me now. I'm like, man, we need a goal. I'm going to send some Huna. And I says, right. And so I do that. And I wrote on Facebook, there's going to be a goal in the next 60 seconds. In the time it takes me to get out of bed and walk downstairs, they will score. No word, seriously. And when it comes, I might have missed it on the memories page, but next time it comes up on the memories, I'll reshare it. Within 60 seconds, there was a goal. There was another time, I think me and Paddy Honan were messing about and Watford were playing. I'm like, man, these guys need a miracle. It was just going very badly. So I'm like, all right, then I'll send them some Huna. It was one of those miraculous turnarounds and Paddy did this wonderful image of me standing. I don't know where he got the picture from. Oh, I was teaching photo reading. So he does this Photoshop picture. I'm standing like that and he's got like the vortex. And so, yeah, I've had some really kind of, you know, fun, uncanny where I'm like, right, we need to sort this out. They need a bit of help. Let's Huna them. And then within the time scale that I've said, and somebody, you know, I think there was an octopus who used to predict the scores because I did that a couple of times on Facebook as well. I'm like, okay, let's get into the energy. Let me tell you what's going to happen now with the game. And I've been very specific. I mean, I think it was Brexit. I predicted the Brexit percentages. I think I was something like 0.8% out in terms of, I said it's going to be 48.1 and blah, 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 blah. It was pretty much on the money. And again, that's all on Facebook because I did it before the Brexit, you know, even before we started voting for Brexit, I said what I thought the split was going to be. And it was exactly that. So yeah, there have been Nathan a couple of times we've been messing about on Facebook and like, oh, we need some Huna for this, and then things have turned around. So yeah, we've had some cool fun with Huna as well. So it really, the power of Huna for me is just beyond. It has been transformational for myself, definitely, you know, for my clients. In terms of beliefs, mindset, confidence, self-esteem, you know, passing exams, getting jobs, doing interviews, pain management, you name it, we've done it. I think and we're still connected now. I won't say his name. He's written about it, but I'll let him talk about it himself. But he's written about it on my page. So next time it comes up as a memory, I'll share it as well. But the very, very first time I experimented with the Huna and Access Consciousness and did it as a teleseminar, I didn't know who anyone was because I can't see who. I can just see the number of people in a webinar. but I don't know who those people are. So I'm just doing the Huna and Access. And I said, I get a sense that there's somebody who's got pain in the neck and the back and the shoulder, so I do this. And I do somebody else with a blockage with regards to food, I do that. And the guy in question, he says, I felt as though you were talking to me when you talked about the back pain and the neck pain. I've been in pain for months and it feels better after you did the Huna. And I had somebody who was suffering from bulimia, who the next day was in the supermarket having just listened to a teleseminar, and she said she went to do her binge shopping and she suddenly was heading back to the counter, the checkout, and she looked in her basket and thought, I don't need this and I don't want this, and she just went and put it all back, and she's been fine ever since. So, and this was the very first time I'd run it as a teleseminar, because I actually wasn't sure what the impact would be. And I remember I had somebody who probably my second or third time I'd run it, this was probably 3 or 4 years ago now. She says, Marilyn, you described me and you described the room that I was in. I don't know where she lives and all that. And she said, to the point I got up off of the sofa and I looked behind the sofa to see if you were there, because it was that crazy. And so, yeah, it's been, you know, crazy cool when we do it remotely, teleseminars, webinars. So you guys on my e-newsletter list, you know that every once in a while I'll run free teleseminars. You guys will get a free invite to it if you're on my e-newsletter list. And so if you've been on any of those, you will have seen the people in the chat rooms talking about their experiences, and people actually feel it, even if they're listening to the MP3 download afterwards. They're not even on the live call. And so if you want to join us for the workshop, the dates to be agreed with the people who have booked, you'll get to experience it in person as well. So that, my friends, in a nutshell, is it. If you've got any further questions, if you've got any further queries, put them in the chat thread, or you can send me a message. One of the things people often ask about is next steps. What I have arranged is, once people have done the intro with me, if there is anyone who did want to go out to Hawaii, with the person I did my training with, what they have said is, once you've done this, they will offer you the price that they offer to their students, which is different to the published price for the Huna workshop. And in a nutshell, the training, you know, level 1, of course you start with level 1, goes to level 3, and then beyond that you can do some additional trainings. But the training is 2 weeks, so it's 14 days. Yes, 10 plus 4. It's out in Hawaii. And it was amazing, and it was really lovely to go and do it there and visit the ancient sites. So yes, if anybody then felt that they really wanted to go on and jump in with both feet, I will let you know about how you can kind of access those student prices. We'll talk about that on the workshop. But yes, if you want to experience the power of Huna, if you want to learn some of the techniques for yourself, if you want to have some of these as things that you can use in your daily life to enhance your sense of relaxation, to let go of negative emotions, to bring yourself back into balance, to have better connection with the higher self, then do come and join me. And the website, if you wanted to have a look, is www.hunaintro.eventbrite.com. You will find the details there if you're watching it in real time. If you're not, might be another couple of years before I run another one. And you can always go to my main website, www.transformationstm.com, and I'll put the links to those in the description of this video and in the comments later on as well. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everyone who has participated in the Huna energy work and transmissions over the years, because, you know, doing those has really refined the process and given it a real punch and power. And yeah, I will catch you all later. Bye-bye. Oh, and thank you for your comments. Thank you for your shares and sharing your experiences of Huna as well. Very much appreciated. And if you know anyone who might be interested, feel free to like and share the video as well. And let's get this Huna energy moving. Catch you later. Bye.